Hello folks, welcome to another episode of the NSMQ Review Show. I'm so excited to welcome you again to another episode of the program. We are coming to you from the studios of Primetime Limited, organizers of the National Science and Maths Quiz. Today, we will be looking at the performance of schools from three regions, that is, Central Region, Eastern Region, and Volta Region. I have in studios individuals who really have followed the performance of these schools in this region I'm talking about, and they will be bringing to perspective what they witnessed at the regionals and what we should be expecting come the nationals starting from 11th June. Remember that we are 31 days away from the launch of the 2019 edition of the National Science and Maths Quiz, and I know you definitely wouldn't want to miss this for anything. Remember, this show airs every Wednesdays and Saturdays on our various social media platforms. On YouTube, we are at NSMQ Ghana, and on Facebook, we are at NSMQ Ghana as well. Do well to also follow us on Twitter. Again, we are at NSMQ Ghana, and on Instagram as well. I have in studio three individuals who rarely need introduction when it comes to NSMQ. At my immediate left is Mr. Richard Arthur Ping, and he is the regional coordinator, science coordinator for the Central Region. Hello, sir, and welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And close to him is Samuel Neti Ajo, the coordinator for these three regions. Sir, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And he is also with Primetime, the organizers of the National Science and Maths Quiz. And to my far left is George Kwabena Kwache, and he is the science coordinator for the Eastern Region. Gentlemen, once again, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Mr. Ajo, let me start with you. You are the coordinator for these three regions. In your preliminary comments, I want to find out from you what were your observations.
Thank you once again. And we, as organizers, we started with the balloting process for all the regions. In fact, for all the regions, but specifically restrict ourselves to the three regions. We did our balloting for which the schools were paired. It was quite an interesting journey. I mean, there were some ups and downs, some low points, some high points, and we realized that expectation from the schools, the school heads, the teachers, the students, the old students, were quite high, and in that they flocked to the various venues to witness what was going on.
Wow.
And it was just a wonderful sight to behold, to see schools who would naturally not consider as school that can beat another school, but then they were able to pull up some surprises here and there. It was quite tough. I mean, some of the regions, especially the Central Region and then the Eastern Region, was quite tough because it goes to say that we have those two regions, for instance, have produced champions.
Absolutely.
I mean, in Provjon and then in the Dissadel, the St. Augustine's, and the Francis Pim. So naturally, you could say that contests in those regions would suffice to say would be exciting and would be really, really tough. So it was quite good. It was quite interesting, and we were very successful.
Absolutely. So let's look at Volta Region, shall we? Let's look at the performance of the schools from this region, and going into the national, what should we expect?
Well, for the Volta Region, I would say that it was an improvement from last year. Because last year you realize that you had schools scoring negative points. I mean, you have quite a number of schools scoring negative points, and then some scoring 0 and all that. But I remember vividly when the regional science coordinator for the Volta Region spoke to the schools and encouraged them to put up that kind of performance where that situation where they will be scoring 0 and the negative one will be eliminated. And indeed, it so happened that we had fewer schools scoring 0 points, and I think we had just about one school that scored -3. But by and large, it was an improvement from last year. But in the same vein, I was very disappointed with one particular school. The kind of score that they attained in winning their contest, that I'm not affiliated, but I think that their performance was below par. Indeed, that particular contest had all the schools scoring low points. The winner scored 8 points. That I'm not offending,
8
but
points, and they were able to qualify with that.
yes,
point.
yes. In fact, they went into a tiebreak with Aveime Abator SHTS.
Okay.
And then this also scored 8 points, and then Adidome SHS, and then Pasa SHTS also scored 6 apiece. So it was quite disappointing. But so those two schools had to go in for a tie break with 8 points with 8 points. That Anglo Afenjinigba and then Aveime Abator. And so I think Anglo Afenjinigba scored were able to take the riddle and then therefore won the contest by 11 points, which means they had an extra 3 points. Last year they were on the show, they were on the program, and their performance was quite encouraging, but it was very disappointing this year. But aside that, I think generally all the other contests were quite exciting. We had some exciting contests, and the contest particular that involved DOFO SHS, who gave KJB Asato SHS a run for their money. DOFO had not made, they've been at the regions, but they've not made it to the national championship. But KJB Asato have been here for 3 or 4 occasions. So therefore, naturally, you consider them as an experienced school when it comes to the National Science and Maths School. So meeting DOFO SHS and Keta Business College and then Apafu SHTS, I mean, you naturally say that it's a write-off for KJB Asato, but they were given a run for their money until the last round, where I told some people around me that KJB Asato were going to use experience to beat DOFO, and they didn't really understand what I was saying. But as somebody say, as a Methuselah of science and maths, naturally I know what I'm talking about. Indeed, at the last round, KJB Asato were able to beat them by just a point.
Wow.
And then there's this school, Adaklu SHS. This year was the first time of entering the National Science and Maths School at the regional level, and they qualified to the national championship as well.
But did they qualify with a certain performance?
Yes, I mean, I would say that even though you can consider it as a very high point, but for their level, for where they were coming from, I thought that was quite a good performance. They made 23 points against Wovenu SHTS, who had 21, and Sokode SHTS, who have been at the national championship, I think, about 2 times. And then Abutia SHTS.
In fact, last year they were also on the program.
Exactly. And then Abutia SHTS, who scored -3. But let's put Abutia SHTS aside, and then let's concentrate on Adaklu. They did very well. I mean, people would say that, look, Sokode, this is a game for you. Absolutely. But they were shocked. I mean, and where Adaklu made 23 points, and then for the first time they went to the regionals, and then for the first time they made it to the national championship. So we had another school, Vapu SHS, who came on last year for the first time, the second attempt at the regional level. They've qualified for the national championship. We had quite a host of schools. Another school, HEPS, that's Ohoi EP SHS, who also met with Malco Girls, Nkwanta SHS, and then Krachi SHS. That was another tense contest in the sense that Ohoi SHS, that's HEPS for short, they put up quite an incredible performance until the last round. And just before we went to the last round, I was telling those people again, experience is going to count here again.
And it did.
And they count again. So Malco Girls beat them by just a point.
Wow.
So you see, I mean, the performance from the Volta region was quite good. I mean, largely was quite good. Save the Anglo Afenjinigba contest, but aside that, I think that they were quite good.
Richard, let me bring you in here. You realize that the performance wasn't that good in the Volta region. Do you think that there is something that is accounting for such, let's say, not too good performance from this region?
Thank you. I believe there's a cause, and we have to find out the cause and then find a solution to it. For Volta region, I may say that most of the schools may be inexperienced, as Mr. Ajo said, concerning the program. The kind of books they use count a lot.
Okay.
Those who are inexperienced may use a lot of pamphlets, and these questions, come from textbooks. So sometimes, because of inexperience, they may be using pamphlets, which do not explain concepts very well. And when they come for the competition and they meet a set of questions that are relatively new to them with respect to concepts and some of the applications. So because of that, they are not able to click to the right answers as demanded by the consultant.
Not necessarily that they are not good.
No, they are. They may be good or they are good. But for National Science and Maths quiz, you know, it's a different program altogether.
Absolutely.
And at the national level, we expect students to answer questions from right concept.
Okay.
You see, so if you are not using the standard or the right textbooks, and you may be using pamphlets and those things, it may not help you. Some of the teachers, in fact, almost all the teachers are good. In Central Region, when I go to every school, I tell the student that the teachers are good. But you know, science and maths quiz is a different game altogether.
Yeah.
So maybe that is why they are not performing as expected.
George, how well do you weigh the performance or preparations, I should say? How well is preparation important?
Yeah, thank you. I think preparations are very important before getting to the platform. You see, there are a lot of things that come into play when you talk of national maths and science quiz. Not necessarily being intelligent,
Absolutely.
but
Smartness.
yes, you must know a lot of technicalities. The one doing the preparation must make sure he builds the competent or the courage of the contestants as they are coming onto the. For you know, balloting and knowing and meeting and decided alone will put their spirit down.
Yeah.
So you need to build the confidence of the contestant. Very, very important. Again, you must also let them know that it's not always every question that you get it right. So you have to sack them. Or maybe the first 3 questions you get it wrong. When you get them wrong, don't worry. You can make it. Because there are times, first question wrong, second question wrong, their spirit is down. One typical example is Gatasu, St. Peter's.
Absolutely.
2017.
2017, yes.
He was down until the last round before he came up. Why? But he was very intelligent. Very, very intelligent. So these are some of the things in preparations they must do before they come to the platform. Other than that, you may have a very intelligent student or contestant, but will be on the stage and the person will floor.
Yeah, thank you for that. But I also think that aside these preparations too, there is a role, a key role the old boys and girls of these schools need to play in making sure that these schools up their games. Don't you think so?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. You see, when they see that these old students are in to support them, it gives them good morale. At least we have people behind us. But for instance, like, excuse me to say, some of these low and dark schools which are now appearing onto the stage.
Absolutely.
For instance, when we come to the region, we have Mount Sinai, Asamantesi, Kwabin,
We'll come to that.
coming into the scene. These schools are not all that grown in such a way that they will have big time old students
Absolutely.
coming to support them. So in this case, when they meet at this adult, we have a huge.
They may have
No,
lost before the competition
That is it.
begin.
So those old students play a significant role as far as the national platform is concerned. So I agree with you that it works very, very, very.
What about you, Mr. Ajo? How can we up the game, especially in this particular region?
That's
Volta region, yes.
Well, just as Mr. Atapin and then Mr. Kwachi just has mentioned, the honors lies on the school authorities, the old boys, and then the coordinators of the teachers, then especially the students. Well, I would say these 3 that I mentioned, because the students or the contestants are more or less the players, just like the football team where you are supposed to put them to give them the tactics that they have to play, and then get them onto the field. So without the right tactics, naturally it will affect them. And then when the coach is able to impart the tactics to them, whatever strategy they will adopt to play their game, he's done his part. The rest lies on the executive or the administration.
Absolutely.
Okay, now to provide the right infrastructure, the right resources, I mean, the kind of motivation you need to put in place to ensure that this boys or this guys knows that, look, we have solid backing behind us. So what's left for us to display? The school authorities have invested into us. The old boys have also invested into us. The teachers have also imparted the knowledge that they need to impart into us, giving us the right tactics. Now the onus lies on us to display whatever we've acquired, because we have a solid team behind us, and therefore we can move much forward. So when all of this comes into play, it reflects on the kind of performance the schools put up. So I totally agree with them, and I believe that if we should follow this line of tradition, it's going to help a lot of schools, because all those schools that we hear of who have made a name for themselves,
they also started this way.
That's how they started. That's how they've gone, and that's why every now and then you keep seeing the same schools. I mean, getting up the ladder every now and then. So if for any reason some of these so-called less endowed schools are able to gather resources together, have the solid motivation and backing, I'm sure they'll be able to excel and make a name for themselves as well.
Absolutely. So can we remind our viewers the number of schools that have qualified from the Volta region, and we will be seeing them at the 2019 edition of the National Science and Maths Quiz. So currently on your screens are the schools that have qualified from the Volta region, and I think this is some of
yes. So we have Zion College, we have Bishop Herman College, we have Adaklu SHS, we have Vaku SHS, we have Ola SHS, we have Doji Penny SHS, St. Mary's Seminary SHS Lolubi, we have Anglo Afienjeningba SHS, we have EPC Maoko Girls SHS, we have Awudome SHS, Akachi SHTS, Anglo SHS, Pando SHS, we have Segakope SHS, and then we have KJB Asatu SHS. Those are the 16 schools.
Okay, so in total we have 16
schools, yes.
But we need to remind our viewers again that there are some seeded schools.
Yes, they have
in
two.
the region.
Yes, two seeded schools. That Mauli School and then Keta Senior High Technical School.
Okay, they were able to make it to, I think, the semi-finals. Mauli made it to the semi-finals.
Yep.
But Keta made it to the quarter-finals. So
Yep.
in total we'll be having
18 schools represent the old Volta region. Yes.
The old Volta region, I should say. But let's zoom into Central Region. This is your area or your region that you coordinate.
Yes, please.
And one of the schools or one of the regions that had the second runner-up for 2018 edition of the National Science and Maths Quiz.
Yes, please.
This year, how was the regional competition for you?
Yeah, the regional competition wasn't bad at all. In fact, I would say that most of the schools did well, though few of them performed below expectation, but most of them did well, and the competition was keen. Especially in contest 4, where we have Ednaman, Asamanson, Abraman, Yendenchra, Tunkwa, and Odabin. At least from Ednaman and Asamanson. You see, all the schools want to qualify and come. Asamanson was seeing itself as a strong school.
But Ednaman has always been a strong school.
No.
When it comes to the National Science and Maths Quiz.
Yes, it used to be Asamanson. When Asamanson was qualifying to come to the national level, Ednaman was not qualifying.
Okay.
Now Ednaman has come to take over Asamanson and those things. So the competition at the regional level was quite impressive. Okay, though some of them couldn't perform well. I tried looking at the marks that the schools got. What I did was to find the average, average for the region. I totaled all the marks that the school got, divided by the number of schools that took part in the competition. So I had 970, and 46 schools took part. So I had 970 over 46, which gave me 21.06. So which means that on the average, we had 21 points. And if you look at the schools that qualified in Central Region, all of them scored above the average mark that I got. Wow. With the least being Bremenes Kumasi High School, that got 29 points. Wow. My average was 21.06, but Bremenes Kumasi was able to score 29, but that was the least. So they scored between 54, that from 29 to 54, which wasn't bad. Though some of them couldn't perform as we expected.
One of the contests that really shocked me was the one involving infantiman girls. We know this is a school that really has the name out there when it comes to National Science and Maths quiz. People know it to be a very good school, but unfortunately, they got beaten by Winneba SHS. How did that happen, Mr. Ejo?
Well, sometimes you find it very difficult to explain because, as I would put it, smart girls have been old dogs of science and maths quiz. Winneba, you could classify them maybe as a Latter-day Saints,
Yes.
but then they've gained some experience now. And so I remember prior to their contest, I was speaking to the teachers and I asked them after the balloting that, what do you make of your contest? I was like, oh no, this is a write-off. I mean, that's what he told me straight off. He said, it's a write-off. There's nothing to discuss about it. So we'll live to see. Indeed, they proved it. I mean, they were beaten fair and square. It's very disappointing to see some of those girls who we, in the previous years, we've seen them as stalwarts when it comes to the girls' schools in the of the program. But then they have slackened so bad that you wonder what the problem is. Could it be from the contestants themselves? Could it be from the school authorities or the administration? Or could it be that the right mechanisms are not put in place to ensure that those schools up their game? I mean, it's very difficult to explain, but I'm sure if we should investigate, it can be traced to some of the things that we've already discussed. Absolutely. And so I hope that for some reason or the other they will be able to come up. I'm sure, because infantil girls is an very synonymous with the National Science and Maths quiz.
Absolutely, but you remember the first girls' school to even make it to the finals. You recall?
I think no, Western girls have made it to the finals before Fancyman girls, but I mean in those recent times they were able to make it there, where they that was 2013. They met from the early stages. They met a lot of the boys' schools, and not just the boys' schools as in the boys' schools. And they beat them solid, and they get a fair beating, and they made to the finals, and they met two strong boys' schools, and then everyone was naturally rooting for them. Everyone was rooting for Fancyman girls, and we knew, we believed that look, these girls are going to pull a big and huge surprise. But just after the first round, they were off. They were off. I mean, so sometimes it's difficult to explain, but from the little we know, we believe that this might be some of the causes in which we think that if there are people are interested or very much concerned about this situation, therefore want to really look at it. I'm sure it could change the face.
They are very much concerned about this, especially
they should be. They should be because
they'll find an antidote to it.
They should be, because it's about time we see the girls' schools. Coming up. It's very important. You see, it's not just for any reason that we have females as a quiz mistress. You understand me? That's a solid reason why we've always maintained females as a quiz mistresses, because you see, it's all about encouraging the girl child. This dates back to many years ago when the late Professor Irama Adi was a quiz mistress. She happened to attend a program, and she overheard two girls chatting. That involved schools, and then they were having a chat, and they were like, hey, this is a woman. She's a professor. How I wish I'd want to be a professor like this woman, that sort of thing. So then she called them and asked her, look, yes, I'm a woman just like you. You are girls, you're growing up. But I can assure you, if you take yourself seriously, if you're focused, if you're determined, you'll be able to access my level or even go beyond me. Don't think I am from another planet. I'm from this earth, just like you. So you can do it. So for that reason, we've always said that, look, it's about time we encourage the girls child. So it was a policy that National Science and Maths would always have the face of females as a quiz mistress. That's what we maintain. So it's important for us to also have a girls' school winning the contest, so that it goes to buttress the reason why we took that important decision.
Absolutely. So briefly, let me come to you, George. Yes. You've heard from your colleagues about this particular trend of problems we have in our schools or in our girls' schools. What would be your add up to what they've already said?
Yeah, it's true. What they have said, I agree with them. Coming back to my region, one typical example is Methodist girls. For the past 3 years, they have not come to national. And even 2019, they will not be coming. And another typical example is St. Rose's.
They were beaten, actually.
Yes.
We will come to that, actually.
They were beaten. And it's a new school that threw the school out, exactly. So As Mr. Adjo said, there could be so many factors coming in. And I think both the administration, the teachers should come together and see how best they can bring these schools up again. And when they are in, it makes the competition very lively. Because as the boys' school see the girls' school, they are charged.
Absolutely.
And you can see how the environment will be. So definitely, I think they must sit up and then make sure they also count themselves in.
Okay. So, Samuel, let me come back to you again to that region. I saw that St. Augustine this year finally has made it to the national. Unfortunately, last year they weren't able to make it. But this year, thanks be to God, they have made it. I want us to look at the number of schools that have made it through the regionals and have made it to the quarterfinals, and how many of them would be representing the region.
So the region has the 6 seeded schools. That's Fansipim, Ghana National, Wesley Girls, Holy Child, University Practice, and then Addis Adel. So these are the 6 seeded schools from the region, and then we have from the regional competition we had 9 schools. The region's allocation is 15.
Okay.
So we had 9 schools who had to qualify to represent the region. So out of the 46 schools that balloted for the contest, we had to pick 9 schools, and those schools were Apam SHS, St. Augustine's College, Bremen Sikuman SHS, Edinaman SHS, Shredu SHS, Giniba SHS, Ascent State SHS, Boamponsum SHS, and then Tiamas Ekumfi. And you mentioned St. Augustine's, it was very significant. I mean, the kind of performance they put out at the regional level. I mean, they know what they went through in terms of not being able to qualify. The last 2 years, as a seeded school, they were beaten at the 1-8 stage, and then they came back. They lost again. They lost again. So they had to go back to the regionals, and then they realized that they had to put their acts together, because behind the scenes we saw a lot of things that they did.
I realized that they even built a new complex,
exactly, and the school heads and authorities were put their weight solid behind the students. So it's reflected on the kind of performance they showed. I mean, right from the word go, I said, look, this is a school who knows what they've gone through. The same thing applied to St. Peter's. When we get to regional, I'll tell you about that story as well. So this is a school that, having gone through the situation that they went through, I can see something in them. I can see a potential champion in St. Augustine's based on what I observed at the regional contest. So for me, it is thumbs up to them. But the national level or championship is another platform altogether. But based on their experience, I wouldn't expect them to not to make it even to the semi-final stage.
Absolutely.
And then another interesting contest that I witnessed was the contest involving Ascent State SHS and Agri Memorial SHS, Jassy, and then Feteman.
One would have said Agri Memorial should have easily pulled through.
Definitely. And Ascent State beat Agri Memorial SHS such that before the end of the contest, I think that was in the third. In fact, they led them from the first round. I think at the third round. During the third round, one of the students of Agri Memorial just walked from the crowd of the audience, and I mean, no one's supposed to get closer to the stage area. I mean, but this boy walked from there. One of the teachers was restraining him actually from moving, but he didn't. He just ignored the teacher and went up there, up stage, and went to the school just to talk to them. So later we called him. Look, this is not allowed. Why did you do this? You realize that the boy found himself in another world simply because Agri Memorial were losing. So he just said he was going there to motivate them. So it is not so much about those on stage who were feeling the heat. Even those out there were feeling the heat much more. So this boy did something that was not supposed to have done. But from hindsight, he realized that, look, he found himself in a situation that he could not comprehend. That's why he had to move in there to do that. So it was a shock. To see Ascent State SHS beat Agri Memorial. I mean, they will beat them, 38-32. So, and generally, there is central regional competitions, like Adapin just said, the lowest score, for those who were was 29. But when you look at the scores for all the winners, it was quite impressive. And another school that I also believe they can pull a surprise at national champion is APAM SHS. APAM SHS. They were very, very impressive.
I think for a couple of 3 years now, or the past 3 years, they've been very consistent at the national level.
They were very impressive at the regional level. So for me, I look at schools like APAM, I look at schools like St. Augustine's. I mean, that's from those from the region. Yes, Ordinaman, but those from the regions, the regional competition. I look at these schools and I believe that they could cause a stir at the national championship. I mean, I don't want to talk about the senior schools.
No,
I want to focus. I want to focus on the regional qualifiers, those who qualify for them. So I'm looking at APAM, I'm looking at St. Augustine's, and perhaps Edinama. But these two schools, APAM, and then APAM, and then St. Augustine. Please watch out for those two schools.
Okay. What about you? You are the science or a regional coordinator for Central Region. What should be the expectations going into the national competition sometime in June?
Thank you. For the expectations, let me just add to what Mr. Ajo said. In fact, for Central Region, we are expecting to come and perform very well at the national level.
That's always
the schools are preparing, learning. It will surprise you to hear that even after the regional qualifiers, some schools have still been doing trials. I quite remember Confiti and Media inviting some of the schools in Central Region for science and maths quiz trials. So I went there to moderate it. One of the contests, the Confiti and Media beat APAM and Suez School. Second contest, APAM replied with a big margin, telling them that they cannot take them for granted at the national level. So we are expecting good performance from the schools in Central Region.
Okay.
And they are learning hard.
So viewers, you are still watching the NSMQ Review Show, where we are looking at the performance of the schools from the Volta region, Central Region, and we are yet to zoom into the performance of the schools from the Eastern Region. Bear in mind that Eastern Region has the reigning champions of the National Science and Maths quiz. I'm talking about St. Peter's Senior High School. They made themselves proud by winning the competition by just a point. They beat West African Senior High School. And I'm glad that I have the regional coordinator over here, and who will be walking us through what the schools have done for themselves at the regional level and what you should also be expecting from them as the national competition begins on June 11. So George, let me come to you. I mean, this is your region, this is your backyard. What is your observation from the regional competitions?
Thank you. From the regional contest, we had 19 slots, but 5 had already been seeded. So we had 14 contests. And you realize that each contest was keenly contested, very hot. And at times you realize that the last riddle is even the decider. And some even have to break a tie. That is St. Rose's and then Mount Sinai. And the questions, I think it was the 4th question that was able to break the tie. So you can imagine how the competition was. In all, I saw a table which had been rated by Prime Time, and one school which we must watch this year, Otibuatin Senior High School.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Not even our reigning champions?
No. They are because those boys were on the national stage last year. They were informed too. So they are coming again.
Wow.
This time.
And such an impressive performance.
Very impressive. 71 points.
71 points.
Yes.
I guess that's one of the high, in fact, if not the highest
second
highest
I think
points.
when Prime Time reached the table, I think they were second or third or so. And
no, second.
So we must watch them.
Wow.
And then apart from that, you realize that St. Rose's, which we all know as a good school, was kicked out by a new school who is now coming into the system, Mount Sinai, from Akropong. So you can imagine. Another one too is Asamankasi. It's another new school. It's also the first time
They are
of
qualifying for the
qualifying
nationals.
for the national, which they beat Presby St. Martin's, who have been there for 2 consecutive years, 2017 and 2018. And if a new school who have not been there before is now kicking these schools out, it tells you something.
I'm sure many people who follow the National Science and Maths schools, this is what really they wrote out for.
Exactly.
The so-called unknown schools beating the creme de la creme schools.
Yeah, yes.
And it's also a boost,
Of course,
for the schools that we rarely know
no.
of.
And these days, you need not to underrate any school.
Absolutely.
Because now the National Maths and Science quiz has been a platform for which now people showcase
Absolutely. They sell
their academic talents. So if you think that this school is a run over, and for that matter I'll get it easy, Pojo found it very difficult to even to qualify. They were damn lucky.
Our former champions.
Yes. So now Eastern Region is coming up. Last year when we had our regional championship, was St. Peter's and Pojo's were at the finals. And lo and behold, Was and St. Peter's again went to the national finals. So it tells you how our preparation, as far as the National Maths and Science quiz is concerned. So this year, should watch out. Though I give respect to Central Region, but this year,
you know, the Central Region and Ashanti Region, they are the regions leading with the highest number of seeded schools.
Yes.
So it's not going to be easy.
It's not going to be easy, but the reason I'm saying that is that you see, 2017, we have only 3 seeded schools from this region. But 2018, we went to 5.
We are coming up.
So it tells you we are coming gradually. And I will not be surprised that 2019, we have about 6 or 7 schools being seeded from this region.
And retaining the title too?
Of course, we want to repeat history. 2000, 2001. 2000 was for, I think, Pojo's, and 2001 for St. Peter's. So now, if St. Peter's has won it 2018, then we expect an Eastern Region school, not necessarily Pojo's, to take it. So we want to repeat history this time. Yeah.
Samuel, is it going to be easy for the Eastern Region school to retain the trophy again?
Well, it is come extremely difficult to determine a school who would win. I mean, I'm sure you can, if you want to look at it, even the regions, it's very difficult to really determine the region that you could say that, comfortably they can win a national championship, because the program has just gotten to a point where it is, as somebody say, ubia nyubia. So for me, I don't know. I mean, I believe that when Otibos won their contest, when I was in the region, I asked the audience that, are we seeing another WAS here again? They responded yes, because WAS also came in last 2017 with the Form 2 students, and last year those boys represented the school at the national finals, So it's another situation where we see these boys who were with the school at the competition when they were in Form 2, and now they are here again in Form 3, and they put up that kind of stupendous performance. So it's a school that I have marked. I'm watching them closely, but I believe I believe that they could make an impact only if those factors does not affect them, because you might know it all, but you see the crowd, you see the cameras. I mean, the program is much as it is a national program, it is international in the sense that we live stream all over the world. People watch it, so we have comments, BBC and all those international, so they follow the program.
Absolutely.
Past contestants and other people also follow the program, and they write to us every now and then. So you are not only being watched here in Ghana, but you are being watched globally. So all these factors comes into play. I mean, whether you have the mental capacity to handle the situation and therefore excel or not.
And talking about the mental capacity, we'll be having an interaction with our finalists who made it through and represented their school at the 2018 edition of the National Science and Maths Quiz, and find out how well school has been for them, or how well life has been for them after they won the trophy sometime in 2018. But before we go, I want to find out from you again, Mr. Ajo, let me come back to you. How many schools pull through the Eastern Region competition, and how many of them are we likely to see at the national level?
So we have 9. The slot is 19, and we have 5 who are seeded. And so we had them 14 who had to fight for those 14 schools who had to fight for their place at the national championship. And so the schools that made it to the national championship for the regional competition are Nifan SHS, Abuakwa State College, Kwabin Anglican SHTS, who are appearing for the first time.
Yeah.
Otibuatin SHS, Hack Mount Sinai SHS, also for the first time. Pope John SHS, Asamankasi SHS, Savior SHS, Akuman SHS, Presby SHS in Kutia, Presby SHS Osino, Ganas, that's Ghana SHS, Koforidia, Adontin SHS, and then Ofrepenyi SHS. So these are the schools who have qualified to join the seeded schools to represent the Eastern Region at the National Championship.
Okay. So before we wrap up the show, Richard, let me come back to you. Okay. What should be the expectations come 2019 June?
Yeah, the expectations are that we perform better than last year. We have 6 seeded schools. This time, the schools have assured me we are raising our seed to 9, at least 9. With Augustans, Apam also coming to join the other
Probably
6.
a dinner mine.
And those things. So we are expecting to come and perform creditably, maintain our standard, maintain our pride as Central Region, that perform creditably in the National Science and Maths Quiz. You know, Science and Maths Quiz, as prime time people, they all know, Central Region is a very...
the power horse.
Yes, power horses.
Well, all the best in your preparations
Thank
as
you.
you come to the national in June. Mr. Ajo, again, let's look at Volta Region. What should be the expectations, and what can the region do in order to make sure that they put up a yeoman's performance at the national?
Well, all I have to say is that for those schools who have qualified, they shouldn't rest on their oars. They should rather get themselves involved with preparations, especially engaging in friendly matches, so to speak. I mean, you have all schools, other schools in the region traveling the length and breadth of this country, engaging other schools who also be at national final to get that kind of familiarity, to get that kind of exposure. So I believe that they should be able to adopt that kind of system, that kind of strategy as well. And then the backing that I believe they deserve to have from their old boys and then their sculptors should come into play. So I'm sure they will to do something well. I looking at Keta, SHTS, and then Mauli School, yes, I just want to believe that others was my job, but for now, I think I'll rest with Keta, SHS, and Mauli School.
Absolutely. Eastern Region have the standard. They've set the standard for themselves, and the standard is so high that they wouldn't want to go below that. It's at least going to the finals and probably winning the competition, isn't it?
Yes, please. We have set the standards. And coming June 6 and 7, we are having our regional championship once again. Though we have invited schools from other regions. We are having Mauli, Kita, Ula, Ganata, Presec, Was, and Fansepim.
This is more or less like a national competition.
Yes, we always make it in such a way that it is not about who is the champion, but it's about preparation.
Preparations.
So when they come in and they see these big names, already they have tested those names at the regional level. So when they meet them at the national, it doesn't look like it's a big name and therefore what am I going to do? That's why we make sure we invite those schools in. And when they come, they made the competition also very lively and keenly contested. And this year, I believe, as last year I had 2 schools at the semi-finals, this year I'm praying I have 3 or 4 schools coming to the semi-finals.
It's a done deal to have the trophy retained.
One time quick.
Anyways, this is where we draw the curtains on today's episode of the NSMQ Review Show. I'm grateful to you, gentlemen, for making an appearance on the show. At my immediate left is Richard Arthur Payne, and he is the regional coordinator for NSMQ in the Central Region. Thank you, sir, for coming.
Thank you.
And your regular panel, Mr. Samuel Nete Ajo. He is with Primetime, the organizers of the National Science and Maths Quiz. Sir, thank you for coming onto the show. And finally, thank you, George Kwabena Kwache, the regional coordinator for the Eastern region. And in fact, our reigning champion comes from that particular region. And so thank you again for making time with us. Remember that this show airs every Wednesdays and Saturdays. And make sure to follow us on our various social media platforms. On YouTube, we are at NSMQ Ghana, Twitter and Instagram, same. And do well to leave a comment using the hashtag NSMQ2019, NSMQ Review Show. My name is Emmanuel Jiven. Until we come your way next time with another episode, it's bye from here.